Okay, so how can I talk shit about Christians and basically worship the same God as them? Oh, that's real easy, honey. They completely, like, their version of God and everything, the way they do everything, I think is like a sin or affront against God for the most part. Not all of it, but quite a bit of it. The entire, like, satanic smoking magic thing that they do every fucking Sunday with the whole church service and singing and stand, sit, kneel, pray, and communion and whatever. Like, yes, that's mostly the Catholics, but you should get a lot of churches do that. Most of the churches I ever went to did that. And knowing what I know now, any church that does that is run by Satan, basically. If they're having you all do a communal thing in a room where a magic wizard stands on a stage and gets fed your energy, probably not good. You should worship God alone in nature. You should never worship God in groups. That's, my, like, very, like, staunch, weird, like, hate being in those groups opinion or whatever. Like, my thing is, if I was put as the one on that fucking stage, I would feed off of you in ways that you really couldn't imagine. Like, this is being a showman, this is being like an energy vampire or something. Like, it's palpable and real, and I don't like feeling that necessarily. It's good sometimes. I usually rather, like, piss people off on stage. I like feeding off of your hate, I guess. Maybe that's just because, like, I am, like, go watch a lot of stand-up comedians and you'll get me. Like, George Carlin and not Lewis, yeah, Lewis Black. Like, I like a lot of their shit. I like Joe Rogan. I like Bert Kreischer. I like Ron White. Is Hi, Uncle Ron. It's been a long time. He has to be distantly related to my family. That's the conclusion of my entire family. He reminds me of several of my family members, and you know, I think that's, when you like a comedian, they're probably somewhat like you, and, like, I don't know if I'm really that funny. I'm usually hateful as fuck, but I do occasionally make jokes on here. Mostly, I just like to bitch at the fucking world in a semi-humorous way, because it's like, it's gotten to a point where no one really can fucking do that. Go watch my video on fucking Brittany Griner. I don't know that I can get away with some of the shit that I said in that video, but I have a damn sure better shot of it being trans than most people, so I feel, like, compelled to, like, give this whole thing a shot. Maybe people will fucking like my. Maybe I should try making this funnier. Like, I really, at this point, am just, like, smoking and ranting at the world, kinda. Trying to figure out what we're gonna do with this show. But I kind of figure, like, if I keep putting out videos and occasionally hit one out of the park, I won't lose people. And I've hit several out of the park in recent memory. I just did one today that was a response to some comment on Instagram. It was 762 somebody. You should watch that video. But back to Christians and shit. I have ADD, in case you can't tell. My issue with Christians basically is that they are Satanists and they don't know it. It's kind of how I see it. At least for most of them. I think most of their churches have been infected by dark, dark shit. And almost all of the fucking Western churches are set up to create a group of people that just go along, say yes to shit. And are really open to you changing what they believe. It's kind of disturbing. I'm not a fan. I believe what I believe, and like, to some extent, it is what a lot of Christians believe, but to a lot of extent, it is not. It's completely fucking different. It's affected by my view of who Jesus was and where he was and what the rest of his message was that he was teaching. And basically I interpret it as there have been several key things that have been edited out over time. Key need to know information about Jesus. And you can go, I would delve into all the conspiracies about that shit if you want, but here's what I believe. Jesus was some weirdo. That's kind of what I believe. And I think he preached a lot of what Buddha did. Because if you look, a lot of shit lines up and there's odd stuff that's missing. I think the stuff that's missing out of the fucking Buddhist teaching is the stuff they've edited out. Jesus, if you look at where he was in the world and when he was in the world, he very easily could have bumped into some Buddhist sect and been converted over or whatever, and all sorts of ideas about him being in a mushroom cult. There's a lot of ideas about a lot of things with him, including the idea that basically that it's not that he was trans, it's that he was, fucked up genetically in some way. And like his wife was Mary Magdalene and she was a whore, and basically Jesus was kind of a cuck. I don't know how much truth there is to that. That's not really what I believe. That's, within the realm of conspiracy theories about Jesus. I think it's an interesting one. And that is basically some Freemason Knights Templar shit. And that's one of those, like, that is shit that I literally debate back and forth in my own head about, like, is it not true? There's a whole bunch of this that I've kind of decided for myself, and that's the stuff that I talk to you people about. The Jesus conspiracy theory stuff, I don't know. There's enough of, at least the Buddhist teaching stuff makes me question how much of it was edited, that I look to less edited sources that sound like Jesus. Less edited sources that sound like Jesus' Buddhist shit is ancient Jewish shit, the oldest that you can find, and then interpret it through the fucking whatever's left of what Jesus said. Like, I don't know. We were really in a pickle religiously because they have so fucking torn up and rewritten the fucking book that I think it's arguable as to what anything is. And, like, it seems like some things were always hidden. Like, some of the conspiracy theory shit about Jesus is literally that, the Knights Templar knew this shit. And that's why they had power. Because they had proof of some of this in some way. Don't know what that would be. They hung out in the Middle East and came back with a lot of power. So, I don't know. I try to figure out what to believe, and a lot of that is just the spiritual side of things, which you can just go hang out in the woods and feel God. I would go do that. As far as all of this ancient history shit, it's interesting. And I would study ancient history rather than studying the Bible, because the Bible is written during ancient history. And it's interesting about some of the things that it has that are found in other places. And I don't know. I think it's very cool that, like, the origin story or whatever told in Genesis is the Sumerian one. It's the Sumerian Empire's, version of events. Because Abraham was Sumerian. He, like, ran away from their fucking dying empire. And, like, it's that shit that I study now. Because, like, it seems that, I don't know, our empire's dying. So it might behoove us to look to the other times when empires died. And that's a lot of Jesus and Abraham and Moses and shit. I try not to dwell on that shit too much, but, like, you might have noticed a bunch of religious videos in the last 6 months or so. Like, yeah, it's a thing. I think it's worth talking about. A lot of these videos are just whatever I have something to say about. So, I hope you got something out of this. I'm just going to end this here because, I don't know, it seems like a good place. See you guys later.